Today we are driving the new 2023 Chevrolet Suburban Premier. But as always, let's begin with a brief tour before we get into the driving. Chevrolet does provide remote start across the board on all of the Suburban models, and that is especially helpful if it's a cool day. Now, we are kind of in a darker area, so this will kind of be a nighttime walk around if you haven't checked that out already. Starting up front, we have a horizontal chrome grille with a Chevrolet bow tie, and we also will have mostly LED headlights. We will not have fog lights, and we also will have these optional 22-inch alloy wheels. Now the mirrors will be fully loaded with puddle lamps, and you will have upgraded roof rails at top with a panoramic sunroof. Coming to the rear, mostly a plain design. However, we do have some chrome here and there and a Chevrolet bow tie. Now, the Suburban badge looks really cool, and you have a towing hitch with the diesel powertrain. Opening up the cargo area, you will have a ton of space since this is the Suburban and not the Tahoe. You're looking at around 41 cubic feet of cargo room, which is a lot for this. That's even more than the class-leading minivan. Now the seats can fold down and fold up super easily, all with the power switch. And closing up the trunk is really easy. You just push a button and then the Suburban does the rest of the work for you. Now let's move on to the interior. The second and third rows are probably one of the biggest priorities, so let's see what you get there. Now to put down the seat, you just pull that lever twice, and you can get into the third row super easily. As you can see, I have a ton of legroom, and this seat is slid all the way back. Now I also get a cup holder, some storage space, and a USB-C port on both sides. Now, hopping into the second row, it is also super easy to get in and out of the third row with that seats moving out of the way so nicely. These second row seats will slide and recline, which is a nice thing to have. As you can see, I demonstrated that right there. Now inside here, it is pretty comfortable, no complaints really. The rear seat media is optional if you want that. We have our own zone of climate control, 2 heated seat buttons with 3 stages, and this is the interior that we will be working with today. Now, coming out of the Suburban is relatively easy. We have running boards and a handle, so smaller kids will not have as hard of a time. Now let's move on to the front. This is $80,000, you guys, so luxury is a priority. We have wood trim, nice weather, and a ton of storage, and the door sills illuminate at night. These seats will be completely leather wrapped and will have 12 ways of power adjusting. Now you have a really cool animation that animates for you once you get in, and well, let's just start it up. Now you have a completely digital gauge cluster, heated steering wheel that is nicely leather wrapped, and the materials are super nice with wood and a digital mirror. You also have some more leather, and the climate controls will be completely physical with heating and ventilated seats. The storage in the center console is abundant, and plus you get a sliding one, which is super nice. The infotainment system is really up to date, super fast, and it is definitely worth getting. You also get a nice backup camera with active trajectory. However, the 360 view monitor is optional. The gear shifter is pretty weird, but it is a 10-speed automatic transmission, which is smooth and steady. Moving on to the rest of the powertrain, we are working with a 3-liter Duramax diesel engine today, which is good for towing, but not good for power. We have 277 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque, which is not a lot for a giant car like this. Now, as I've said, we do have the 10-speed automatic transmission, and this does get better fuel economy than the normal Suburban at around 22 miles per gallon combined. Now, this is good for everyday driving, just like we're doing right here. We will be doing a transmission evaluation, a handling test, and an acceleration test with the handling. And just everyday driving down this road that is relatively wide for the tires. Honestly, I'm not hearing a lot of tire noise. We are using the 22-inch alloy wheels, which are optional, and yes, they do let in more noise than the 20-inch wheels, but not by a lot. And since we have double pane windows on here, the wind noise will be isolated even more. Double pane windows is basically a second layer added to the window that is just as thick as the original layer. This really helps when it comes to isolating wind noise, and I can definitely hear that versus the non-double pane windows. Now, driving down here, I've felt cars that are huge, like the Wagoneer L, but don't feel as big as they are. The Wagoneer L is humongous, even bigger than this car, and it still didn't feel as big as it was. If you compare it to a smaller car like the Acura MDX, the MDX was big, but it felt way smaller. The Wagoneer is bigger, and it felt bigger than what the MDX felt like to drive, if that makes sense. Now, stopped at this red light. The brakes are pretty good. It does feel like you're stopping a huge vehicle, and it is harder to stop this than something like a smaller car. The brakes on this are fine, but they could be better. Now, this is going to be our first acceleration test, which was not as successful as I would like it to be. Now, this is going to be part of our highway demonstration, so we will check out the wind noise levels when we come to the highway. Now, the highway is right ahead of us. If this car wasn't in front of us, we would have our full acceleration test like we normally do. But stay tuned to a couple minutes later in this video, we will have the full acceleration and handling test. But this is a great time to evaluate our 10-speed automatic transmission. Ever since this was put in the Suburban, it's been way better than the last generation. It shifts very smoothly, very steadily, and I hardly know it's there. Now, it is going to let you feel the shifts once in a while, but that is pretty rare. The only reason why I know it's there is that I can hear it in the diesel engine. Now, wind noise on the highway, what is it like? It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but this is a huge car, so the faster you get, the more wind you're going to hear. So if this was like a Honda Civic or something, you probably wouldn't have as much noise, even though the Civic doesn't have the double pane windows. But it's kind of a win or a win. You get quiet wind noise levels in the Suburban, you get quiet wind noise levels in a smaller car. So I'm just going to say it's good, but it could be better. Like, this is a giant car. It's not very aerodynamic, if you know what I'm talking about. Now, torque-wise, this is great. We have the diesel powertrain, and we have less horsepower, but just as much torque as the 6.2-liter V8. Now, that is a big engine. It's been in basically every Chevrolet that's out there, and probably will for the next couple years. That is a great engine. It has a lot of power, and I'm glad the diesel one got as much torque as that, because it really could come in once you have to pass someone on the highway. Now, this will be our handling and acceleration test coming up, so just stay tuned for a couple more seconds. Now, coming to our acceleration and handling test, turning the corner, whoa, a lot of body roll. This is a giant car, and it feels like a giant car. That's the thing about this. The suspension is so outdated that people didn't figure out like how to control the body roll as well and all of that yet. Just like the Wagoneer, Jeep just reintroduced that in 2022. Brand new suspension, all new everything. It's a great car, and it's huge, but it doesn't feel like it's a big car. I mean, it still feels like it's a big car, but not as big as something like that size or the Suburban size. So handling could be better. Acceleration was fine. Right off the line was pretty quick, but then started to, level out. So definitely if you need acceleration, go for the 6.2 liter V8. That will definitely serve you well. Now we are nearing the end of the video, so I want to give a shout out to the salesman at Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Ann Arbor for allowing us to film this car. Now here we are pulling in, so I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.